Hey, I'm live with Mike Perry. First, thanks for coming on. I did your podcast yesterday. I don't know what order we're gonna release them in. I might hold it for a couple weeks, but it was figured we should chat with each other. It was good talking. Now, first off, I went on your podcast. You had some Tran thing, like called me out, said it was gonna beat me up. You did tell that person I'd whip its ass, right?
No, I didn't. I figured we could just set up the payday if they're bought it. They're a muscular, uh, they were a muscular person. And,
Fair.
if they wanted to fight Jake Shields in dirty boxing, people seem to discredit your striking ability.
No, it's true. I am a much better grappler. I'm not going to deny that, but I think people completely underestimate that. I was fighting at the highest level for 20 years, and guys think, "Oh, he can't strike." It's like, dude, give me a break. You see me in there with guys like Lawler, Woodley, and they're not really hitting me. People are clueless. I mean, I get that a lot with people because they would read my striking wasn't good, and they spar me, and they're like, "Oh, it's a lot better than I expect." And I'm sure probably happens to you with grappling. They're probably like, "This guy can't grapple," and you're like, "Dude, I'm a professional athlete. I'm gonna fuck you up." You get these
Yeah,
guys
I
don't
was
realize.
probably better one day. I've grappled probably once in the last 6 months. I like to get into scrappy battles. I go and I do striking with the MMA gyms, and they just want to box with me. And sometimes I'm like, let's do a little MMA, because I'm a free
Yeah,
fighting style like that. But I figured you're probably got good striking. You
yeah,
you had a striking battle with George St. Pierre, who was one of the quickest, smartest fighters. And it's not about strengths and stuff, like
yeah.
as you talk about, people discredit your striking, but it's like your ability to know your distance and your range and your timing, when to throw things, when you should stay out of the fire. I mean, all that matters so much to a pro fighter.
You just broke it down perfectly. A lot of like these regular people, they don't understand the distance and I'm not claiming to be the best striker in the world, but I have the understanding, the distance and the timing, all that stuff. And someone like you can see these movements of like, oh, he might be doing a couple things that don't look perfect, but there's that thing of being in there, that finding that timing, finding that range. That is a crucial element a lot of people are missing. And it's like GSP was the king of that rhythm and time and the jab. Speaking of that, Venom Page, who I watched you fight yesterday, you mentioned he's the king of that timing and spacing. And that was like, you had an awesome fight with him. You ended up winning, but a complete war.
Well, I didn't have to battle his legs.
That's true.
He's quite the Taekwondo style kickboxing fighter, where he can, and he's got dangerous weapons with his shins. He stopped that one guy in Bellator with a leg kick and looked like he just shattered his knee.
Yeah, he's
So,
nasty.
I didn't have to face his legs, but then he didn't have to face my grappling.
That's true. Yeah, he's a frustrating guy to fight. Not that I've sparred him, but his timing, the way he moves in and out, those guys are hard to deal with. And you're such a come in trade, but you did a great job of just coming. I would love to see you guys fight bare knuckle MMA.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, that's interesting. If I was going to do something, I just want to know. I need some time. Camps for fights have been quite spread out for me in the last few years of my career. It's like, oh, I went from MMA and then I went and did triad combat, which was boxing with 5 or 6 ounce gloves on, and I fought a pro boxer who had a 27-3 record, and we had a really good fight. He hit me hard a couple times. I was in great shape though, and I got the win over that guy, and that was a big moment for me. And then I went on to bare knuckle. I fought Julian Lane. He was so tough, and he had 9 or 10 bare knuckle fights already, so he was teaching me a thing or two about bare knuckle at the time. And we've had talks about fighting Dylan Dennis in MMA, and then I went on to boxing, and I boxed Jake Paul at 200 pounds when my whole MMA career was 170. Bare knuckle and the boxing and triad was 175, and I've had 2 bare knuckle fights at 185, which I performed really well at 185 in a bare knuckle boxing match.
Yeah, to Jake Paul real quick. He's a good boxer, but he always fights guys smaller than Nate Diaz fought 155 most of his career and a little bit 170. Tyron Woodley, he fights these 70 pounders and fights him at like 200, or he fights Tyson when he's almost 60. And I do think Jake Paul's a good boxer. I'm not saying he's not, but he sets it off. 30 pounds is a big weight difference. So people need to take that stuff. And plus, you're an MMA bare knuckle fighter. Boxing's not your primary sport. Not trying to
Yeah,
bash
you know,
him,
I
but
train it though, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
damn. And I train with some big guys, 230-pound guys I spar with sometimes. And, you know, everybody in training is obviously different than on fight night and things like that. And, you know, I give mad props to Nate for he
Hmm.
fought Jake at 185 and,
I
you
think
know, he went
190
10
maybe.
rounds with him.
Yeah, I think it was 190 or 195. I could be wrong though, but yeah, it was that. And he
Mm,
had a hurt rib for that fight. I would like to see a rematch with that. Like I was saying yesterday, you and Nate could be an interesting fight because you know there's not a lot of big name guys that aren't in the UFC. I mean, Nate's my boy, so obviously that's who I'm backing. But I
of
just still think
course.
you know I like you too. I think that would be a fun fight to
Thank
watch.
you.
I would prefer that MMA I think than bare knuckle though personally, or bare knuckle MMA.
Yeah, it would be cool, man. I would totally be with it, and you know, we'd have to get some group squabbles. There would be some
We'd
group
prob
fights, maybe
we'd
my
probably
team
have
versus
to brawl,
y'all.
you know, because I got to back up Nate. I'm like, damn it, I got to fight Perry, but you know we're a loyal crew. It is what it is. It's not personal. Sometimes you got to scrap. I
It's all
interviewed.
fun for us wild boys.
Yeah, it's funny because I interviewed Masvidal, and I was always maybe gonna fight him. He was fighting the Diaz's, so I could never be friends with the guy. It was always like, oh, I got to fight this dude. So I was able to sit there and interview him, and it's like, oh, it's because I've always liked you, but we always had to keep a distance because he's the other guy, he's a lunatic like us that you never know. It might, you know, if you disrespect him, he's gonna pop off on you.
Yeah,
But he
it's
was super
confusing.
respectful. Yeah, like he wasn't disrespectful to like freaking Nate or anything because he knows if he starts to disrespect my homies, I'm gonna have to fight him on the podcast. It would make good numbers, but
They actually did, right? They were having that boxing match, and
Mhm.
then the guys got into a fight in the crowd during the after the press conference or whatever. When
Y-
I think Nate just decided to leave.
Yeah, they were actually surprisingly really respectful of each other. There was a couple fights in the entourages, but it was more the younger guys. You know, you know how it is. The younger guys that roll in the entourage are a little bit crazy sometimes, and you're just kind of like, ah, yeah, what are you gonna do with these young guys? They're backing you up, so you don't want to get mad at them, but you're like, oh, maybe you shouldn't be starting these fights. We're a little older now, and at least I am. You're still a little younger, but I try to be less crazy now. I think most of us fighters, or at least we start off a little crazy battling stuff. You get a little older, and you're like, oh man, I need to stop this.
Mm. Yeah, you know, I don't know. That's part of. I'm trying to keep my fire. Gervonta Davis is talking about he wants to step away
Mhm.
from the sport of boxing. He's done. I mean, he's done incredible things already. So it's like, why not? But you know, he says he wants to disappear and he wants to do therapy to where he never
Mhm.
thinks about fighting again. So I get that, but at the same time, I'm like, I've dug myself in
Mhm.
and I got too much opportunity to not go capture.
Man, you actually nailed that because it's like if you get those demons all solved, maybe it's hard to go out there and fight. You know, at the end of my career, I was feeling all mellow and shit, and it wasn't doing as good. So maybe we need to still have those demons a little bit and be a little bit crazy. Our sport's completely insane. We're going in a cage in front of sometimes millions of people, tens of thousands live, and beating the crap out of each other. So you have all your demons put away and that therapy and shit done. Maybe that's not that can be a bad thing for what we do. So I think you made an excellent point. Yeah, you
Oh,
got to.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I try to control what I can. Um,
Hmm.
Sometimes your mind gets slippery, you know, like I got sparring tonight
Hmm.
and sometimes after sparring I come home and I have a drink and I try to chill and watch TV after I've showered and
Hmm.
you know, you just try to relax and calm down after things, but you know, you get wobbled a little bit, your a couple screws get a little looser
Hmm.
and you got to tighten everything back down, you got to focus again and do what you're supposed to do, and it's hard because sometimes you just want to be wild.
Yeah, no, I think when you go into sparring, do you go in there and kind of like a crazy pumped up mindset sometimes, or are you super friendly and nice, or how do you go into when you're sparring usually? What's your mindset?
I get myself kind of nervous, you know, and
Hmm.
I expect to work really hard, and it's hard. Sometimes I want to get in the ring when I haven't really warmed up that much, so I can
Hmm.
get more rounds in, and it depends on how I fight that day. If I have a plan, I usually have like a couple of goals that I
Hmm.
expect out of that sparring day, and I'll try to get hit less or sometimes I just say, screw it. You know, I need to get in the fire. I need to walk forward, not be pushed back. And I get myself hit a little more those days. But sometimes I take the punches like it's nothing. And I walking people down and they just get tired of
Hmm.
hitting on me. And then I start catching them. Or, you know, I've had good days where my feet are working. I'm getting my miles in. I'm keeping the tempo controlled to where I can make small explosions, not get tired, slow back down, catch my breath, and keep moving. Sometimes I feel like it's like I would never stop that night. I've beaten a couple of sparring partners already, and then other nights I do a couple rounds really hard, and then I'm like, dang, I'm gassing out.
Weird how it's like that. I think young fighters, if they're watching this, they should pay attention to what you just said. You're working different things, different times. You're going there with a goal, what you're trying to achieve that day. And sometimes the body doesn't do what you want to do, but you might go in there a day like, man, I'm going to battle today. I'm going to be knocking fools out. Other days, like, oh, I'm going to work my technique in and out. You know, for me, oh, I'm going to work takedowns today. Today, I'm going to work on my jab. Today, I'm just going to try to hurt people. You know, you go in there with different mindsets and who you're sparring. You know, if it's your best friends, you know, if I'm sparring Nick Diaz, we would go hard, but we're not trying to hurt each other because I was like one of my best friends. But we still would beat the crap out of each other because by not doing that, you're not doing each other any favors. By
I
by
bet
going light
back
on
in
each
the
other.
day it was a little different with you two.
We used to go hard, man. That's why we got respect for each other. We used to beat the crap out of each other, dude. I think that builds so much respect when you're just fighting someone like that just almost every day. It was pretty wild.
It changes a lot in the older years. I feel like I've really developed. I'm this old veteran fighter nowadays.
Right.
I'm not the young guy anymore. So I get a lot of respect when I go to the gym. Sometimes I'll wait to see what people got. If they don't make moves, then I start making the first moves. Then they're like, oh shit, I'm in here with Mike Perry. And, sometimes, when you're fighting a guy who's greener and you're trying to teach him something, you're like, damn, I'm kind of good. Like, it doesn't matter what he does. I just got his number. And then other days, you get a good training partner and you're like, oh, okay, you came to fight today.
For me, I feel like a lot of times when I go and train, a lot of these young kids want to fight me now. Not all of them, but a lot of times when I go spar, it's like I got to be ready to fight because I don't spar as much anymore. So I come with these young kids, and I get it. I don't blame the kids for wanting to fight me because I was the same when I was young. If I stepped in someone with a big name, I'm gonna try to hurt them. So I get that a lot when I go spar with these kids. Like, oh, they're trying to fight me. So I know if I step in, I spar someone, I don't know them well, I better be ready to fight. There's a few guys at the gym, like Chris Curtis and stuff. I know we can kind of go in there and he'll match my pace. If I want to bang, I'll bang. If I want to play, he'll play. But a lot of these guys, I step in there, it's like, oh man, we're gonna have to fight. Like if Sean Strickland wants to fight, spar me, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. Chris Curtis, man, he just had a good fight.
Yeah, he's super bummed out.
Stoppage.
Yeah, he's taking it hard, man. I seen the gym, this morning.
There's no reason to.
That's what I'm trying to tell him, bro.
Me and Curtis have had our little beefs back and forth over the internet, whatever, talks here and there. But, a fighter that'll get in there and put it on the line like that, because Chris fights for it. He goes in and he's got the short ditty boxing style.
Dude, he's good,
and he
bro.
He can take some hits, but there's nothing to be hard on himself about except the fact that he wasn't moving better and dodging more punches. That's all he's got to work on.
Yeah, I tried talking to him yesterday, but he basically told me to leave him the fuck alone. So I did, and it's other people. It wasn't just me; someone else trying to talk to him too. You know how it is. I get it. I've been there when you're like, I don't want to hear that shit. He's basically like, just leave me the fuck alone. So I'm like, oh, dude, he's taking this hard. And someone else tried coming up with the same thing. I'm like, just leave him alone. Just leave Chris alone for a couple of days. Talk to him next week. But that's what makes us good when it eats you up like that. There's a lot in the line, so it's a tough sport. So real quick, I want to switch up to You were a good MMA fighter, but never quite broke like the top 5 or only know top 10. You were good, but you're kind of the king of bare knuckle right now. You're just crushing it, beating good people and knocking out most of them. Like, what do you think the difference is? You think the sport was made for you, or you've gotten a better fighter, or what do you think?
Well, the toughness with taking the punches. I boxed a long time. Always training, sparring, 16-ounce gloves, whatever, and I like to punch. That's what I like to do. Even when I did the ground, I was a ground and pounder. That's my MMA grappling is probably better when I'm throwing punches. And, taking the kicks out, the kicks started getting to me at the higher level. Those guys, they'd kick me in the arms and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, when you try to throw your punches and stuff, right?
Yeah, or ending up in a bad position first, or if they get inside and get the body lock or something like that, I did well as far as defending a lot of grappling exchanges or, getting back to my feet and things like that. But when you talk the tip of the iceberg And I was right there. I really was. When I knocked
Oh
out
yeah, you were a
Ellenberger,
really good fighter. Yeah, I'd say you were
he
right
was
there.
number 12 in the world. I had a great battle with Luque Vicente, who's made his way up to like number 4 now. I fought Ponzinibbio when he was number 8, and he's still out there getting after it. He's a great fighter and a little shit talker too. But the bare knuckle, I have an ability to take shots better than most fighters. I That's one of my best attributes is I know how to roll with the punches, and it works with my striking style. And in bare knuckle, I feel like guys can't hit you as hard. I think a couple people, MVP and Luke Rockhold, definitely learned when they punched my head what bare knuckle was really about. The pains that you feel in your hands, and when I fought Julian Lane, my hands were done in the 4th round,
Yeah, that
completely gone. After that fight, David Feldman called me and he said, these guys squeeze their fists as hard as they can so that when they connect, they it's less pain pressure getting through to their bones. So you got to squeeze that fist. So I haven't had the issue since the Julian Lane fight with my hands. They've done pretty well.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, that was one of my questions was about the hand fighting bare knuckle. I kind of like bare knuckle, especially for the grappling, but to not break your hands. So you just squeeze them really hard right as you punch, right? And it makes the punch hurt more because the knuckles tighten up.
I would say so. I mean, Luke's teeth went into my knuckles. And when it happened, I remember being like, ow.
Yeah,
What
that
was
was
that?
nasty. I said, Luke's
But
a friend
like,
of mine, and
I
you.
wanted to feel it again. I know Luke's a great guy, and he's super talented. He's out there doing
Oh, he
grappling
is. He's
shit.
really talented, which is why, and he's bigger, which is why I told you yesterday. I bet on him against you. 'Cause he's an underdog, and man, bad idea I made. He took it to him. He split his mouth was like
That's me
completely
at
split, right?
185, dude. Boxing at 185 at that weight class, I really like it. I cut about 10, maybe 12 pounds to get to 185. I don't cut a lot, but um, you know, fluctuating weights and always doing diets my whole life, career, 170. I've been cutting from 190 to 195 to 170 for so long, and then when I went up to a higher weight class, I expected my body to start growing and getting a little bigger, but it doesn't. I'm just like 195 pounds. That's what I am. I just cut less. When I cut to 170 or even 175, last time I went to 75, I fought Eddie Alvarez, and he was a little quicker, and I was a little stiff from cutting that weight. I was all muscle at 175, and it made me move a little stiff. I think I'm lubricated at 185. I can slip in and out and get that ditty boxing in there with that lubrication.
No, it's interesting because I fought most of my career was 70s, but I fought Henderson, Mayhem, and Lawler 85s. Those are 3 of my best fights because I only cut like 8, 9, maybe 10 pounds. So I wasn't sucked up from cutting. I was strong. I didn't get tired. But then I told myself like, oh, I'm too small for this weight. But then that was 3 just massive wins at that weight. Never lost at that weight. And then I'm like, oh, I got to go back to 170s. But looking back, maybe I should have, stayed up at 85s because they're slower, like you said, and I wouldn't get tired. They're bigger than me, it's true, but I would just keep coming at them and break them.
I guess you were just a good enough grappler and wrestler because the gap from 170 to 185 in MMA, if one of those MMA big 185ers get on top of you, and they're 205 in the fight or bigger.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
And they get on top of you and they know how to hold top position, I would get exhausted trying to get out from under there.
Yeah, people usually want to take me down. That's the thing. Like I said, but they're big. Like Luke Rockwell is a perfect example. He's a big dude. He walks around like 220. He's way bigger than you. That's part of the reason why I'm like, oh, he shouldn't be an underdog here. But clearly the odds made sense. The odds makers are good.
Apparently, we had a little weight clause in there. It was like a 10% on his weight or something. So he wasn't allowed to weigh more than 205 by 2 o'clock the next day or the day of the fight. By 2 o'clock, he had to still weigh 205, and then he could try to go up a little bit more after that, but he had to hold below 205 for a little bit.
That's still a 20-pound jump, but that shows you how much weight he cuts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He
That's
was
crazy.
still
If
20
he had to
pounds
cut the
more.
20
I was
pounds,
like,
yeah.
I was probably 189 or 190 getting in the ring.
Yeah, and he went up from there. But no, you like another fight that's interesting. You're talking about how you just walk forwards. Venom Page has good snap, and you were just walking through his punches. It looked like they did hurt, but you were just like, whatever, I'm just going to come forwards, come forwards. And that's how you have to deal with a guy with that. You have to be able to take a punch and walk forwards. And I think that's probably why you excel at that bare knuckle.
Yeah, that ability with taking the shot, hitting it on the forehead, uh, you know, putting the pain on their bones if they gotta hurt you. He did hit me with one that swelled my cheek.
Yeah.
And I took it well. I guess I kind of leaned over like I was about to touch the floor, but I just came back too. And you know, slipping, like, if it might cut you if it just touches the side. A cut isn't like a deep shot that hurts your brain.
No,
Those are
that's
the
true.
shots I try to watch out for.
Yeah.
And if I'm putting my weight and my pressure on your punch, you're not gonna get that full length of that shot that you want.
Yeah, so as fighters, we know it's so different. There's punches that land different ways. There's like the snapping punches, the thud punches, the one's little cut, which doesn't really hurt that much in a fight, might hurt later. It's not that big of a deal to us, a cut. It looks bad to people, but to us, it's like, whatever, it's a cut. It is weird though. There's two types of knockout shots. There's like the snap that like Venom Page has. I feel like you have more of a different type of power than Page. Does that make sense? Because like the way you guys hit is kind of, they're both crazy powerful, but it's like different. He like snaps it so much.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's his length, and I got to get in really close, and I like to get my hip and my body weight on it. And it seems like sometimes someone like him, I used to have them where when I was younger, I don't know, maybe faster, I would just touch people and sparring with that shot that you don't even feel, and they're dropping. But nowadays, it's like I gotta break people down. I gotta start to hurt their bone structure, and then they slowly wilt. It's like a painful way to go.
Yeah, it is weird. I've had knockouts like that in training where you just think you barely touch someone. There's a lot of speed and they just collapse. It's like you hit them just like the right spot where it just like snaps in the jaw or something. You're like, whoa, that was weird. Didn't expect that.
I know. I try to, replicate that whenever I can in a fight, and it just never works.
Right? Yeah, it's training and fights are so different. So
Yeah.
So I know you're like the king of the bare knuckle and stuff, but do you have any desire to go back to the UFC or not really?
We talk. I mean, I mess around. I see some things pop up. Kamaru Usman was talking about. Damn, but he was talking about needing an opponent for something. Like, it doesn't seem like anybody wanted to fight him, since he had a banger of a fight with Hamzat and something else. He's looking to get back towards that title, and I'm a fan of Kamaru Usman.
Yeah.
I think he's cool. I just was. He was at the bare knuckle event, and I was talking to him and stuff, and he's a great fighter. Like, just the idea or the chance to come back in, grab a fight with him, and not at 170. I'd fight him at 85, and I don't know, I might get taken down again. But I got the MMA gym right here. It's full of guys. But then I go to the boxing gym. It's like it goes back to when I said I'd like to know what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah, it's hard.
I was boxing, bare knuckle boxing. Are we doing the MMA fight with Dylan Dennis? Are you guys going to give me 6 weeks? Or can I have 12 weeks or 8 weeks? You know what I mean? 10 weeks? Like, the normal camp is like 8 to 12 weeks for
Especially
someone like
because
David Benavidez or a high-level fighter.
I think particularly because you've been training bare knuckle boxing, you would want like 12 weeks if you're going MMA again because you've been doing a different sport. They're similar, but they're not the same sport. It's a different fucking sport, boxing,
I would
bare
definitely
knuckle.
need my time in on the mats, getting some jiu-jitsu again, or getting people to take me down. I get back up, or I hold top position on them. I still got, I'm like my MMA is like a rusty bike. It's like I ain't forget how to ride it.
Yeah, it would come back for sure, but 12 weeks would be better than 6. I'm not saying you couldn't hop in there. For Dylan Dennis, I think you could rock him in 1 week. You'd probably rock him today. You wouldn't need MMA training for him. But
the Jake Paul boxing match, I think that was 4 weeks.
Really? Wow,
Yeah.
that's dirty. He's bigger,
Might have been
gives
a
you
little
4
less
weeks.
than 4 weeks.
And how different is bare knuckle than regular boxing? It's pretty different, right?
It's definitely different. Like, just cause like you gotta get this much closer when you land that shot if you want to dig it in. And you know, with boxing, it's like you got the length of the glove, the
Yep.
weight of the glove, the cushion gives it a spring. I got knocked off my feet when it didn't even hurt, or it didn't. I was off balance more so than the shot made me stumble. So, and then the speed of it is different. There were some adjustments that I needed to make. And then I had a fight in April against Thiago Alves. No one had ever beaten Thiago Alves the way that I did. And it just showed why I was the king of violence in bare knuckle fighting. And, I take a couple, April, May, June, July. So I took some time off after a big fight. And then I get the call to fight Jake Paul, and I jumped into training for 4 weeks or less, and set up sparring camps, and had to have partners come out, and find the right partners to work with, and just make adjustments, and then I go into the fight, and I got to be ready for my opportunities. So I've been training. I've been going hard. I'm going to sparring tonight. I'll have some ideas of how I want to handle that. And I look forward to the next big matchup.
Yeah, I think 4 weeks is ridiculous, but I'm sure the payday was too good to turn down. That's kind of ridiculous. Speaking of pay, are you paid better in the UFC or bare knuckle?
Man, I feel like I never made that much in the UFC, even though. So the Mickey Gall fight probably paid me the most out of all my UFC fights, because I won, and then my last 2 fights, I was getting 90 and 90 for my last 3 fights.
But for the UFC, that's not bad. A lot of these guys get paid terrible money.
I guess I got good managers. I got to shout out First Round Management, Abe Kawa, the Kawa brothers, Malky Kawa.
Yeah, no Malky and stuff.
Good dudes, and they help a lot of athletes. They're doing $1 million contracts in the NFL, and they got tons of them. So they're helping us crazy guys who find nothing to do but physical shit in life. They're helping guide us into manhood, familyhood, how to be a better husband, father, how to take care of things. Help me get my accounts established and set it up, and get me accountants, and everything costs money, and
but life's expensive.
Still, even just because it costs money, you gotta stay on top of it. You gotta be up to date. You gotta look at your emails. You gotta reply to some, and they definitely cut me a break though.
Yeah, right. No, as a fighter, we gotta pay attention to all that stuff. It's easy to just be laser focused and just fighting. And a lot of us come from rougher backgrounds and stuff. And then they're like, wait, you owe taxes, this, that. We don't know how to deal with that shit. But no, overall, the pay is probably better in bare knuckle.
Bare knuckle, shoot. I mean, Triller bought into bare knuckle after I had the Triller Triangle fight, and then I had my fight with Julian Lane, and then they bought in, and that was supposed to be $1 billion. That was a big $1 billion purchase or more that they posted my face on the cover of. So I can be proud of that for what I've meant to bare knuckle fighting. Conor McGregor has meant so much to bare knuckle fighting already, and he hasn't even had a fight. So, as much as I grew it with my banger fucking battles, I try to have brawl out fights. I'm all about honor and glory, and I love a good anime or a gladiator movie. I'm a kid, and I'm a man and a husband and a father and all these things now, and I'm trying to grow and be better every day, but I still have to stay young because I'm still fighting. I have these opportunities to grasp with my physical abilities. So stretching, taking care of my body, my health, staying in shape. These are all positive things that you get from being a fighter and learning how to be a better fighter throughout the years. Health is wealth, especially for guys like us.
Yeah. Well, 2 questions real quick. First is like, do you find it hard We'll also ask them separately. Do you find it hard from being around the kids, playing with them, and then going in and just banging at the gym? That can be a tough transition sometimes, or the opposite, going crazy at the gym, then going like, oh, be around the kids, or is that an easy transition to you for you?
No, I get in trouble sometimes, and then I go back to the gym and I think about those videos that went viral, or, Mike Perry gets in trouble again, and it's like, damn, some of these kids are looking up to me. They might think that that's okay when that's not okay. I'm fortunate to I have my mother live with me. I have my wife and my daughter and my son, and I bring my mother-in-law out, and she helps work on the house and stuff sometimes when I'm deep in fight camp or I'm about to enter fight week, things like that too. So, I'm like, who's gonna protect them? You know what I mean? It's me. I gotta protect
Mm-hmm.
them, and if they're ever worried about, that's what women do. Sometimes they worry about having to be protected from me. What if they had to be protected? Well, it wouldn't come to that. I would go out drinking before that happened,
Yeah,
but
right.
not allowed to do that either. You know what I mean? They need me here. I got to pick stuff up at the house. I got to take the groceries out of the car. I'm just a grown man now. I got to do what others need me to do, the ones I care about. And I get to fight for money. And luckily, after all the hard battles I've had over the years, I'm finally being compensated better. And I'm still learning a lot about what that means too, because getting paid and having money and putting it in the right places is kind of like learning to live without having the money.
Mm-hmm.
So you got all this money. It's like, well, you'll be taxed on like 40% if you take any out. And you're like, well, I guess I'm not taking any out then. Oh,
Yeah, right.
when can I get some? Oh, when you're 65. Like, bro, I might not make it, bro.
Yeah,
I want to
right.
spend some money.
It's finding that balance. What I would do, I would put some away, but then when I made a bunch, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna spend some and buy some dumb shit. As long as I'm putting some away, when I get this big paydays, like I'm taking half and having some fun because you got to enjoy life too. It's finding that balance, but then you don't want to be the
Little
fighter that
vacations,
goes broke.
setting up
Yeah.
stuff like that. This year, a lot of those things we're already planning. I got to wait 3 or 4 months for a cruise right now that we just planned for. And it's like, damn, we're 3 or 4 months out from a good time. It's, and I've been thinking hard. It's grind mode. Establishing more businesses, finding more revenue, more endorsements, more things that I can represent and represent in a much better way. Even bring light to these companies and shine in a way that everyone around me just seems to glow as well. And it's the constant battle. And then I'm going to sparring tonight, and I might not give a fuck about much of it tomorrow because I'm going to be mad or I'll have a headache or something.
Yeah, no, but it's actually interesting. You mentioned, yeah, you're actually doing a lot while you're fighting, which is tough. When we're fighting, our lives are just fight, fight, fight. But you already have the podcast you're doing. You have the promotion you started. The what's it called? The your fighting promotion.
Dirty Boxing Championships.
Yeah,
It's
which
a
is
whole new sport.
yeah. We watched some clips yesterday. It's pretty cool. It's like boxing, but you're allowed to elbow. You're allowed to clinch, punch from there. If you drop a dude, you can follow him down and knock him out. Like I hadn't heard of it. I watched yesterday, so it looks pretty dope. That's where I'm gonna
I
beat that
appreciate
Hishi
it,
up
man.
in.
Yeah, we'll have to get some of y'all's fighters in there. I know Nate's got the Real Fight
Yep.
Inc. I was talking to him about it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he would send some guys over. No, it looks like a cool promotion, and people should check that out. And it's great that fighters are doing stuff like this while they're still fighting, because you don't want to be the guy who you step away and you're all, oh fuck, I fucked everything up. And especially you, I know. I don't mean this in a negative way, but you're kind of a loose cannon. I can relate. Like I watched, I was watching a couple clips before I came over. Well, a few of them I saw. I didn't mean that in a negative way, but you were commentating for a fight, and then mid commentation, you take the thing off and went and got in a brawl. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
that's not like normal behavior, but I get it. I can relate with the crew I roll with. She was like, but to people that's some people would say that's insane. To me, it makes sense, but what happened with that situation? I saw you were commentating, and you took the
Julian
little
Lane.
commentating.
He's a little firecracker. That's what he is. I remember I used to hold firecrackers in my fingers. You see that scab on my knuckle? Yeah, I'm punching in the right places. I used to hold firecrackers in my fingers, and they would pop, and it wouldn't hurt. So Julian Lane's a little firecracker, and when he threw them papers at me, and I was a little drunk. Every time Bare Knuckle calls me in the ring, I'm a little tipsy. so I'm over there. I'm about to commentate a fight, and he throws something at me, and I'm like, I can't stand for this. I just got here. I'm about to have my first bare knuckle fight, and he did what I needed and what he needed to do to lock that fight in place. We just had a fight right there, and he got me a little shit because I don't know where my head was at. I went up to him and I'm like, there's a guardrail in between us, and as I reach over and try to grab him from the guardrail, I tried to throw a right hand, and he just ducked it and came back up. And he either headbutted me or he landed a punch, and it split my lip. But when he split my lip, I just started punching him. I just started punching him in the head. And then everybody packed us in, and I couldn't move, these big old security guards, and then we just separated. I wanted to get him so bad. And we had a good little fight. I almost knocked his ass out in the first 30 seconds. And his little tough ass. I'm wondering if they drug tested me for that one. Or if they drug tested him. I don't know.
Yeah, does Bare Knuckle even drug test?
They do. I've been drug tested for all my fights. I'm trying to remember the Lane one. They may have drug tested me for the Lane one. But I got drug tested for the last 6 years until my last fight. They didn't drug test me.
I watched most of your bare knuckle fights, but I didn't watch that one. I watched the names recognized. But you smashed that guy or what? Got payback?
Julian Lane?
Yeah. That's one of the ones I didn't watch.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I split him open pretty good. He did some damage on me. That was my first bare knuckle fight, and I didn't feel like he hit me good enough to cause any damage, but I had some swelling on my face a little bit on a post-fight interview I did, and man, I almost knocked him out in the first 30 seconds. I leaned back, ducked a punch, and then came up and hit him with the right hook, and he was wobbling. He went down, and then he was wobbling all over the ring, but he shook it off, and he protected himself. I'm pretty sure after the first round, my hands were already in trouble. My hands were hurting, so I was punching him a lot less hard, but I touched him up for 4 rounds. The punch count must have been 200 to 20.
Dang.
In the 4th round. So I'm just slapping him up with my knuckles at that point. And then the 5th round, I didn't really punch him. I was feinting. And then I even dodged a couple punches that made him spin around. And I was just beating him with footwork. And so I wasn't really able to punch him in the 5th round. And then the fight ended, and I knew I had outpointed him so much as far as boxing goes. He was a tough little shit. He was able to come back from almost getting knocked out, and then he stayed in the fight. The 5th round was probably his best round, but only because I hit him a few times that round, and then I really just used my footwork.
Yeah, it's weird how even if we don't like someone, when you have a war like that, you usually gain a little respect for him. It's oh, it's a tough motherfucker. It's a weird sport.
That's probably why I lost the 5th round. I think going into the 5th round is I gave him dap because I finally realized. I looked down and I'm like, oh, we got the same shoes on. So then I'm like, okay, I like the shoes, and I gave him dap. So ever since that moment, I tell myself I'm staying mad the whole fight until that shit is over. It depends on what they want to say once it's over. Otherwise, I'm not talking to them. I got my own shit to do.
Yeah. Looking at the shoes, you can be oh, it changes up. What the stuff that goes through her head's hilarious. I just want to switch it up a little bit. I don't know much about your upbringing, but I assume you probably grew up fighting a lot. Is that correct or no?
Yeah, I guess I got into, I did, in high school, I did after school, I went, if I was trying to play after school sport, once I got later in high school, late 9th grade, 10th grade, my grades weren't good enough to play on the teams. So, and then, so I would go to school, or with my backpack had like MMA gloves in it, and maybe I don't even think I had hand wraps, and then maybe I had a mouthpiece in there, and I would go to school, and then after school on the soccer field we would fight, or I would watch YouTube videos at home of like Anderson Silva techniques, um and then I would train. Guys would come over, we would spar in the backyard, and Kimbo days,
Yeah, the Kimbo Slice stuff.
and then I after high school I started training at gyms, and then started getting amateur fights, and then it went from there, man.
So you were pretty much trained yourself in high school?
Yeah, I'm a YouTube trained guy.
Wow.
I've always thought of, it's up to me anyways at the end of the day. No matter, obviously coaches have shown me some great things, and they make it easier where you don't have to think about it. They're like, do this drill, and like your body will start to develop the correct motions over time as you do the same repetition over and over again. And I've had a lot of coaches who are always these great men that you come across in your life that you can look up to, and you're like, I respect you, and I'll give you a moment of time to try to understand what it is you're talking about, or the way you're talking about it. And I try to implement those things that I look up to, and try to make myself a little better person. And as far as everything, as far as like my attitude or my physical abilities, and just years of training, and then I've always just decided myself, though, and I never really tell anybody. I just keep it to myself. And sometimes even when the coach is telling me, I'm like, okay, you're saying this, maybe he's hearing you saying this, so I'm gonna act like I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna do something else. And then it's like when I'm hitting mitts or something, it's like sometimes I want to tell the coach, actually my guy was doing it last night. We had a late night session, 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. And I'm like, come on, like hit me with the mitts and I'll put my fucking hands down. And then he started catching me a couple of times. I'm like, see, I got to put my hands back up. So, I have to coach my coaches sometimes to how to coach me better. And sometimes obviously still they're ultimately the coach, and they have to find a way to make sure I am figuring these things out. If not, we gotta drill it harder. We gotta work on it more. It's a constant battle that I've never stopped learning. I'm always learning. I'm always coachable.
I agree with a lot with what you said. I think ultimately I've learned a ton from coaches, but ultimately you have to be your own head coach and make those decisions. And I coach some people, and the beginners, I'm very strict, do things my way. As they get more advanced, I want them to be, creative and not copy me as a clone, add their own touch to what I'm showing. You take it, add variations, because we're not going to do things exactly the same. And, good coaches understand that you're not trying to make, I'm not going to go and try to train you and make you a clone of me. Clearly we fight a lot different. There's no, I could probably add some cool things to your game, but there's no way I would want you fighting anything like I do. I'm a grappler trying to take guys down, and coaches have to understand what you can adapt to your game. And even if I'm training another grappler, it's like, okay, they're still not going to move like I do, different body types. So smart coaches understand you're not trying to clone them. It's just different variations. Same with striking. You might want to throw the punch a little different than the coach is taking it. And good coaches need to understand that. And some guys are too strict. My way. And it's like, if it's not working for you that way, it's like, all right, fuck you, then I'll go train with someone else.
I've had coaches like that in the beginning, like boxing coaches, and some boxing coaches are so old school, and that's a good thing. That can be a good thing, like to be old school, because boxing is an older sport than MMA. MMA is much newer, and even though wrestling has been around, but putting everything together, and so it was new to my coaches too back then, coaching me for MMA. And
yeah, it's different.
And then I've had some boxing coaches, and I've always thought like some boxing coaches are so different than an MMA coach, the way that they are about small things. An MMA coach would be like, why are you fucking worried about that small thing? Like, just fucking, you punch them and you move, whatever. But a boxing coach is like, no, do it like this, and do that shit 100 times on that side, just that one left hand, just that jab, over and over 100 times. And then, you know, sometimes I felt like I saw some of those coaches get new things happening to them through my career, like cameras coming around or getting that limelight or that attention. And then they start grasping at their 5 minutes of fame. And it, you know, not thinking about how they were affecting me while they were trying to teach me a hard lesson on the camera, rather than, you know, it's like a fight I fought Max Griffin in Orlando at the Amway Arena, which is now the Kia Center. And that was a big UFC fight here in Orlando. And he got me a little bit, you know, he busted my face up a little bit, but I thought I won the first round. And then he won the second round because he dropped me. And I got up. And then I was on his ass the whole third round. But I guess a 10-8 round in the second, and then a 10-9 and a 10-9 in the third, you give it to the 10-2, or the 10-8, I mean, in the second. But I'm like, give it to your hometown guy, man.
Right.
I'm here. I'm in Orlando. Make me the winner.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you're training in Orlando now, correct? Is that where you're living now?
Yeah.
What's the gym you're at in Orlando?
So I'm at Technique Boxing in Mineola, Florida, and I'm at Fusion XL and Performance in Ocoee, Florida.
Okay. Were you at Jackson Wink for a while or no?
I was, yes. I was there for, you know, I went there for like 2 months before I fought Paul Felder.
Oh, so you weren't there that long, just real quick.
And then I left and I came back to Orlando, and then I went, and then my guy from Jackson Wink, the coach over there that I was working with, he came to Orlando and got me, and he's like, come back. And it was for me to fight Cowboy Cerrone. And, you know, Cowboy Cerrone trained at Jackson Wink all those years. So, but it's like they had this thing, they wanted to get that win over Cowboy.
I kind of understand, but kind of fucking seems fucked up too.
I was kind of like,
it was a little like,
I should stay in Orlando and train for the Cowboy fight, because all you guys know
they
Cowboy.
might be, some of those dudes are probably leaking information to Cowboy, I would think, because it's like,
dude, I even trained with Cowboy a couple times, and he did like, he held off on me in training, or he acted worse than he was in training. And then, you know, I went out.
Smart tactic.
Yeah, dude, he was like setting up the fight from the beginning, bro. And like, I was like, I held back on some punches. I was like, oh wow, he's so easy to hit. And then like, when I fought him, he was not easy to hit at all.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this fucker fucking with me.
He was moving. And then I grappled with him at his ranch a couple of times. One time we went 23 minutes, and he never tried to sub me. He never he didn't let me get the sweep though. I was trying to get back on top. I think I was able to get out. But so then when we were having the fight and I was able to get out from bottom once he reversed, I took him down. He let me take him down in the fight. And then, so he was setting me up the whole time, bro. That was a veteran move. He caught a young Platinum Perry with.
Let you bully him. No, it is kind of weird to go to his camp to get trained. How many years they trained him? Like 10 years, right? Even if I didn't like someone that left me, I don't think I could train someone to fight an ex-student of mine. That would be too weird.
Yeah, but you know what it was? I met my wife now back then in Albuquerque. So I just had this love for Albuquerque and Jackson Wink and John Jones. Like, I was trying to learn from John.
Oh, yeah, John Jones is awesome. I like John Jones. He gets hated on a lot, but I've always stood up for him, even when he makes it hard. He's done some things where it's like, damn, it's hard to stick up for him. But I've always liked the guy.
Well, anyone whose life ends up filmed and seen on YouTube somewhere, there's gonna be some people who are like, I hate that this happened in
Yeah.
this person's life, and it's like, dude, they only see the choices you made. They didn't see the options that you had. You know what I'm saying?
No, exactly. And if we're fighters, a lot of us come from, I don't know his background. We come from tough backgrounds. All of a sudden he's rich, famous, young. It's a lot to deal with. And I'm not trying to defend some of the things he's done, but he's always been a great guy and honest and cool to me and an amazing fighter. I mean, what do you think of everyone's hyping this Aspinall guy? I think he's good, but I think what Jones is, I always bet on Jones. It's like, he's just too good. What do you think about that fight?
It hurts me where the fan base, the combat sports fan base, is like, they've changed so much in the last year or two. And they're so disrespectful now.
Right?
When we came up in fighting, it's like people gave fighters respect. And it's not that the fighters have done anything different, because it's getting harder to be even greater in fighting. Records are being broken still. And people are doing new phenomenal things, as hard as fighting can be nowadays. And not to say that the ones back then or the ones now are any better. I think we would have had some great matchups from time zones. Like, if you could put guys from back then with guys from now, I think we'd have some great fights, and the wins would be all over the place. But the fan base is so rude. It's like they weren't raised to watch fighting. Like, their dads may have watched fighting and treated everything different. Now it's all about, we can disrespect anyone because we think that we want to make this fight happen. And it's like, I don't know. I guess Floyd Mayweather was probably disrespected a lot in the last couple of years of him being undefeated, but everyone knew he was going to win the fight, I feel like. So John, he's always taking tough battles. That's the way I see his career. It's like, wow, he's been number one for the last 20 years.
Yeah, for the amount of years, it's insane.
No one ever did it.
It's insane. The guy deserves respect. All these guys running around be like, he's scared of Aspinall. And I'm not trying to disrespect Aspinall. I think he's a great fighter. But if you think John Jones is scared of him, you're out of your mind. He just wants to get fucking paid to fight him. People are clueless, thinking he's playing the strong game of negotiation. If he's like begging to fight the guy, the UFC ain't gonna pay him shit. If he's like, I don't know, maybe I'll fight him, he's gonna get paid.
I hope it happens and he gets paid great, and he's still the same John Jones that fucking dominates a battle. I hope he wins. Nothing against Aspinall except the fucking people talking shit for him.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same about Aspinall. It's not mean to shit on him. I like him and respect him. But John Jones is just one of the greatest of all time. And he's looked good his last couple fights. I was a little unsure. He hadn't fought in a while, and he's just smashed his last couple people.
You can't take it away from Stipe Miocic.
No, Stipe fought great, exactly. Stipe was coming at him. He was ready to brawl and hit that spinning back kick to the liver. Oof.
Oh, my gosh. So that's a good move for sure.
The liver punches are, after the nut shot, I would say the most painful. Would you agree with that or no? A hard shot to the liver?
I think the spinning back kick is the hardest shot that people can get hit with if it places right. And the rib, I mean, he broke Stipe's ribs, more than one rib. Spleen, he punctured it, and it was something else. I'm telling you, Stipe Miocic is still getting up from his bed like that.
Yeah.
He's still getting up like that from his bed. He bends down and picks up his kid, or he's got to get the groceries. He's like, oh, I got a cramp in my ribs. Something's hurting him,
He is a tough dude. He did not fall down on purpose. He had no choice to go down. Some people would think, why did he go down? It's like, do you see that kick he just took? That was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it went through a gap like this as his elbow was closing that heel. Oh. And John's got some big, nasty feet, dude. That thing clocked him.
Yeah. Did you train with him much when you're out there, or is he too big? I've never trained with John. I would love to, but never trained with him.
I've trained with him once or twice. We did, man, when I was, I went to Jackson Wink and I got in a room. They had rooms there. Over the balcony was the cage was right in there. There was 2 cages, and I was in this room, and I ended up moving out of that room. You know, that was a tough fighter lifestyle right there. You're in a room. I was in a room with another fighter.
There's a lot of crazy fighters out there I've noticed too. Sometimes the Albuquerque fighters are nuts. Maybe I'm just tripping, but the ones I meet, I'm like, these guys are crazy.
Well,
they make you seem sane.
That town, but drink and then train. So that's all they might be doing out there. And then, you know, I walk out of the room and I seen John in the ring, and I'm like, and he gave it back to me. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. That was the first time I met John Jones. I was a huge fan, bro. And then we ended up training one night. I think I did like 7 rounds with him. Like, obviously, it was training, and he was helping me learn a lot.
He wasn't trying to like hurt you.
He wasn't trying to knock me out or finish me or anything like that. But like, I did start, because at that time I was thinking how Anderson Silva always started his fights. He would dance around the outside of the ring.
Yep.
And then, so we started, and I'm jumping around. And Chase Sherman was in the ring. I ended up doing some rounds with Chase Sherman that night, heavyweight. And there was some other guys. But so me and John start, and I start dancing around the ring like Anderson Silva, or I thought I was. John jumps up in the middle of the cage, and he spins around like a spinning back kick. It was like 5-6 feet in the air. He jumped and spun around to throw this kick. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not moving around anymore.
Yeah, I'm not.
He didn't
I'm
try
not
to hit
Silva.
me with the kick. He was just trying to show me, like,
Trying to let you know, give you a check.
That foot go by my face like that. I was like, I'm going in. And then I showed John the style of fighter that Mike Perry really is. And I just got inside. I moved my head, bang, bang. Mike Tyson, bang, bang. And we clinch against the fence. You know, he gave me work for 7 rounds, dude. And then I think
awesome.
that was the only time we really.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And to Anderson, real quick, I mean, I don't think your style is anything like him, but something people don't know that he does. He goes in there that first round and he spends about 2 or 3 minutes moving, dancing, usually not throwing any punches. He's trying to read the guy's movements, seeing where they punch, where they fake, where this, and then he comes in just trying to destroy people. So he's an interesting guy to watch, how he just picks up all your movements, then he starts attacking. You're more a guy who likes to come in and knock people the fuck out.
Who was that you were talking about?
Oh, Anderson Silva. He comes he comes in and read. He spends about 2-3 minutes just like mimicking the guy, watching all their movements, watching how they throw.
Yeah.
A lot of times the crowd starts booing. They're like, "What's he doing? What's this? I thought this guy was good." Then all of a sudden he turns on the violence. It's like beautiful to watch.
I mean, that's
I think he does that better than anyone.
Magic things about Silva.
It's magical, right?
He got the crowd like involved by being smarter and a little boring in the beginning, and then you knew his hands were coming out at some point. You know, he's a little longer than me. I feel like I got to put the pressure on people right away and use the time the most I can to really break my opponents down with my style of fighting. I feel like back in the day, I used to point fight a little better. I would maybe move or take my time or be more patient. Sometimes I tell myself that going into training. I'm going to try to Anderson Silva it tonight. You know, I'm going to try to stick and move or just mess around, waste some time, and then all of a sudden open up the gates. Pop, pop, pop.
No, that's good when you mix the two. I think you're naturally a guy who comes from the inside and brawl. Like, well, at least for bare knuckle, that's what I was watching more of your bare knuckle. I need to go back and watch old MMA fights. But you were great at just pushing the pace, but it is good, like you're saying, to learn to dance, move, and then sometimes come in and push. Ideally, you can do both. But it's tough to do both because they're totally different styles, you know, complete opposites.
Yeah, man. I mean, shoot, you're a legend, bro, and I appreciate talking to you about my fighting style and stuff. And you're friends with legends. You guys train and work together all over there on the West Coast, man. Shout out Team USA all day, and USA against USA, so that way we all make the money. You know what I mean? Nate, if you're interested and you ain't got an opponent, you know, your boy Mike Perry, you know, I get down for a brawl. We can have a fun one. And all
You'd be,
share a drink after. Maybe that when that platinum tequila hits the shelves.
as long as you're both getting paid. Oh yeah, tequila. Someone's mentioned you have a tequila company getting put in the works. I love tequila. We can drink some
Yeah.
tequila
Oh,
afterwards. Get
really?
hammered
Okay.
because Nate likes tequila too. We can put that down.
Yeah, man. Shoot, I gotta find. That's good to know. I'm glad Nate does. I'm gonna get the video that I have and I'll show it to the camera of my bottle. It will be on its way. Um,
No, it's great you're doing so much business already while you're fighting because it's so easy to only think about fighting when you're fighting.
I'm I'm fortunate, dude. Like if it wasn't for God, I'm so blessed, you know what I
Mm,
mean? I don't get how some things work, but I've just been blessed and I just thankfully I do know how to roll with the punches cuz life gives shots
mm,
too and I'm headstrong enough to just power my way through, keep going until I see, you know, it's not about that final sunset.
mm.
It's like every day there's a sunset.
Yep.
Every day there's a chance for that beauty and that relaxing moment, even if it's just for a minute or two. That bit of peace and joy is worth so much. So, you know, I train really hard because I can suffer sometimes and I have the strength to do it. And then on the other side, there's those days that I get to have a drink on the boat
Mhm.
with my family and eat a snack and look at the sun, bro, and know that I got enough money to pay my bills. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I think we train so hard and it's so tense what we do. It's good to have a drink occasionally, and it's like, and like the way you were saying earlier though, it's kind of the journey. Even when it was broke, I was still enjoying the journey and the ride up because I knew it was an accomplish something. So yeah, I'll sit you with a couple more questions so you can go chill before training.
Damn.
Not really a question, but I think it was you. I saw you were cornered by just your wife or girlfriend. I haven't seen that very often. Was that kind of wild or scary or?
Yes. No. With my wife, she was my
Mm.
girl at the time, so I brought her and I beat Mickey Gall. Sorry, I totally wasn't ignoring you. I totally heard
No, it's all good.
everything you
I
said. I
know
was trying to find
you're
that
trying to
video I
find that
wanted to
tequila,
play.
but I get up and look at my phone like, where's that bottle?
I gotta find it so I can show it to
We
you.
want to
But
give your tequila a shout out.
it'll be out soon. But you know, bringing my wife, it was totally normal to me. When I started fighting, I remember, you always bring some people. Bring my mom to the gym. Hey, come watch sparring today, or it's like I'm trying hard. I'm working hard at this, and I want you guys to see the effort that I'm putting in sometimes, so you understand the things that I need to sacrifice to be better. And my family, they get it now at this point because they realize that I've really made all these opportunities from nothing, and I did it with my hard head and my ability to fight. So taking my girl was like, I'm not getting beat up in front of my girl. And then also, I guess I was just fighting Mickey Gall. So it
Mm.
was no, it was no big deal.
Like I got this.
But like, he was good and I was the underdog, I think, in that fight. And um I just ran around Lubbock, Texas, and I hit the bag over there, and then I showed up and I was mad. I was so mad that week because I had felt like I had been disrespected and no
Mm.
one had cared about all the effort that I put into all my training, all my life to become the fighter that I was. And then I had a couple fights. I had fought Tim Means. It was supposed to be
Mm.
Robbie Lawler. He
Yeah, you
pulled
fought
out.
good. You fought good people. That's people kind of look past your MMA career, but you fought a lot of like, even the losses were like with really good people, tough fights. I remember looking at your
Thank
record
you.
yesterday. I'm like, oh, you fought like tough opponents.
I appreciate you noticing that. Some guys, their names didn't blow up, but I know
Hmm.
that they're good fighters, and I can respect that. We're all just trying to be better for ourselves and our family out here, and we're the ones who get in the ring and fucking gotta punch each other. So,
Yeah.
you know, uh, I fought So first I fought Mickey Gall with just my girl, and then I fought Tim Means. It was just my girl and some guy who paid me
Yeah, I
$11,000 to
think I
be
saw that
there.
one. I'm like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah, and he was like trying to coach me to get the takedown. I don't know.
Like, you got to pay me 50,000 for that.
But you know, he got his time. He was like smoking cigarettes before we walked out the fight. Like he would go outside of the. It was at the Apex Center, so he would go right outside of the Apex and he would smoke a cigarette and then come back in, and like, you know, whatever. He cut me the money and then we had a fight. I went to decision, whatever, and then I fought D-Rod. D-Rod's
Tough too.
really good.
Good striker.
And that was with just my girl and my friend Majduddin, who I trained with at MMA Masters in Miami. I just really ran around Miami and did some training there. And then after that, I got the triad fight. My girl has really been there. Maybe she wasn't in the corner for triad, and she wasn't in the corner for Julian Lane because he was a little rambunctious motherfucker. So
might mouth
I
off
didn't
to her or
want
something.
that. And then the rest of them, she's been there for all of them. 4 of my bare knuckles and the Jake Paul fight, she was in the corner.
Yeah, I started feeling like a lunatic like the week before a fight. So I always like distance myself from girls, but you're managed to stay like calm around them. You know, a lot of people bring their girls to fights, but to me, I'm always like, oh, I start trying to get crazy fight week.
I don't know. She makes me mad. And like I try to use it. Like sometimes we'll have an argument like the night before the fight, and I'm like, "Why are you doing this to me?" And I'm like,
Because
somehow she's trying to help me.
because we're like lunatics fight weeks, but the girls don't understand that. Like the fight team understands it. Like I don't know, there's been like cutting weight, and one of your guys melts down, cussing you all out, and you're just sitting there knowing as soon as he eats and makes weight, he's gonna like apologize. And like, fuck all you guys, I hate my team. And you're just like, oh yeah, he's cutting weight. But girls don't understand the stress we're going through fight week, the weight cutting, the not eating, and there's a lot of pressure that fight week.
I can't make any excuses ever about anything. No one cares to hear a man cry or complain about anything. So I fucking don't, and I punch it out on the bag and stuff like that. And I feel like I get quiet on fight week.
Yeah. I would kind of agree, kind of get withdrawn, but just kind of mean. Don't really want to talk to anyone. Just kind of want to stay by myself, get kind of mean. Don't like anybody. But the littlest things will set me off fight week. So, before we wrap up, a couple more questions real quick. I want to say a lot of people would love to see you back in the UFC. What's your relationship with Dana White? Do you have one, or is it not good? Or I know he can be difficult.
It's not bad. I don't really have one with Dana. I think a couple times I may have let him down on some fights that he was either rooting for me or he thought I would do better, or or he doesn't give a fuck because he's got all these fighters that he cares about and he watches us fights. He tries to help people out, and I'm actually about to do this blood testing thing, which is, I heard it from him first, that he talks about it, where these guys take your blood, your microbes, and see what you're sensitive to and all these things.
Yeah.
And I'm about to do it for the first time. It's going to cost me like $2,400 to get the testing. And then it's like, what do I do with the testing? Once I find out I'm sensitive to what foods or coffee or drinks or juices, I've never cared about any of that stuff, but I heard Dana does it, and he does the 72-hour fast. I'm definitely not fasting.
No, we do that when we're cutting weight.
Thing. What's that?
We do that when we're cutting weight, so I'm good on fasting.
Right.
I'm skipping that. I've done that for enough years. I'm retired from fighting. I'm done cutting weight.
Right.
I'm surprised.
I hate cutting weight. So, I don't have a bad relationship with Dana White. I wish I could mend it. I wish I had something positive or business. Like, I don't have anything negative to say. I respect Dana so much, like everybody else does. I think he's trying to do great things and helps a lot of people. I watched the video. He was helping that old lady get her dream to meet Khabib. Just little things, a lot of little things like that. And so, maybe I'll see him again someday at the top.
Yeah, because you're one of the few guys who became a bigger name after you left the UFC. We were talking about it yesterday a little bit too. After for some reason the PFL and Bellator, they're great. They pay good and everything, but none of the fighters go there and become bigger in Bellator after, which is kind of a shame because a lot of times they're getting paid better. But you've actually became a bigger star once you left the UFC, which is pretty unusual.
Well, you know, me and Bare Knuckle had a good fit to each other. You know, I don't know if they could have did it without me, and I don't know if I could have did it without them, but people saw me bare knuckle fighting and they thought that's interesting, and they take a peek at me when I do it, and I'm really grateful for that part of the fan base that understands that I'm going in there and I'm most likely gonna bleed. I'm most likely gonna make my opponent bleed, and we're gonna put our hearts on the line. You know, I kind of hate to say that, put my heart on the line, this and that, but it really does deteriorate you as a person, or I guess you could take it as it creates you as a new person. Lives are lost in fighting. This shit happens. It does. It's very sad, but it's about how you move forward. You get stronger, you get back up, and you could do something better. So.
Yeah, I know. Like we were talking about earlier, they got Venom Page, Luke Rockhold. These guys are just, Eddie Alvarez. You're just walking through trading shots with these like killers. You're just like, oh, you're gonna hit me, but I'm gonna hit you back harder, and that takes a lot. People don't understand what when Venom Page pops you and moves. It's not easy to walk forwards. Most guys don't understand that. They're like, why don't people walk forwards on Venom Page? It's like, dude, just popped you with a snap and move, and you're just like, whatever. I'm gonna keep coming forwards. So that takes a lot. Real quick, 2 more things and I'll let you go.
Okay.
Bare knuckle, you were in the ring and someone hopped in like in a green suit and you knocked it out. I was trying to figure out if that was real or not. I think it was bare knuckle. It was like this weird like costume.
No, okay, so that was.
Trying to figure out if that was staged or real.
So I got paid for that one. It was the pre-fight workout the night before. I think I fought Jake Paul. And I think the costume that got in was his deodorant.
Oh, so you're
he
like,
paid me like $25,000 to punch the guy in the costume and then like act like I'm mad and shit,
So it was like basically staged, but you probably gave him a little shot.
I did hurt him a little bit, I think. I did.
People aren't used to it when you give them a little pop. They're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Deontay Wilder when he punched the mascot.
Yeah. I think this is a good one to end on. Let's go. Like who would you like to fight next? Do you have any feuds, any big stars, anyone that you want to fight?
Man, Bare Knuckle's trying to make the Robbie Lawler fight.
That'd be good.
I know that the paycheck is definitely looking good if they're offering it to Robbie, trying to get him to fight me. I think he's a very dangerous character, especially by the way he's playing. Like, people aren't sure if he would even want to, or, they're saying leave him alone. He's retired, this and that. Like, Robbie's dangerous.
He's not that old. He's still dangerous. Yeah, people are babies,
I've been talking shit with Dylan Dennis in the DMs about he wants to have an MMA fight. Nobody will MMA fight.
You'll whip that. You'll whip his ass.
I'm telling Mams Taylor, let's make the MMA fight. And they're trying to say that they had offered it, this and that, but it would have been the time. First of all, one, they didn't have a date. Two, it was during the Jake Paul. I took the Jake Paul fight. That money was guaranteed. The date was there. I stepped in for Mike Tyson, and I had 6 rounds with Jake Paul, and while I'm doing the experience stuff, Dylan Dennis ain't fighting nobody or doing nothing. So, that's something. I told Nate Diaz, set up me and Dylan Dennis in Real Fight Inc.
Yeah. That would sell too, because he used to be a really good grappler. He was a top-notch grappler, but he's not anymore. He's fallen off. He's all just like talking shit, hype. He's not what he used to be. I think you would crush him now. Like 5 years ago, he was a good grappler. I had a grappling match with him. I beat him, but he was tough. But he's not that same guy anymore. But you still can't underestimate him. He was a really good, legit grappler at one point, but he's not that same guy anymore.
Well, I could get it back, no problem. I mean, because my fighting style, in bare knuckle, you use the clinch and it's a lot of forward action where you're putting yourself in positions to grab and then strike, or just kind of push your opponent around and then hit them when they get at the right range.
Yeah.
And that's like an MMA style punching. Like I can use my body to knock you over or even take you down or knock you down, as well as punch and elbow and all these things. And I'm a hell of a striker. So in a brawl out fight, MMA bar style, because that's what MMA is bar style to me. That's the way I've always treated it, like a street fight. You know, I just watch out for him trying to break my ankle.
Exactly. And again, I wouldn't look past him, but I think you'd crush him. Your experience versus his is mostly talk. He's fought a couple bums. He's like nowhere near your level.
I'd want to get the training in, and that makes me think there's another possibility that's out there. Well, you know, they offered me a little bit of money. It would have been like on Thanksgiving to fight Anthony Taylor, who's about to fight Darren Till, apparently, if that even happens now. I think it might. Interested to see how that one goes. I think Taylor's really small. Darren's supposed to be so big. Tommy Fury pulls out of the Darren Till fight because Darren's saying he's going to kick him in the head. so
What an idiot.
Maybe I could get the fight with Tommy Fury. I'd love to fight one of the Furies.
That'd be
I'm a big
boxing,
fan
right?
of Tyson Fury. In boxing, you know, that's the thing. It's like I want to know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, because you need
that I can
time to train
prepare.
for a different sport, you know? Like bare knuckle has been the one that clearly you've been the most successful at, but if you're going to do a boxing fight, they're similar, but they're not the same sport. People need to realize that.
You know, and it's kind of, people are like, you know, people say whatever they say, and I've had these bare knuckle fights, and it's like, people want to say, if anyone coming in, oh, well, he didn't beat Mike because Mike's got 5 of them things already. And it's like, well, I mean, I got the other MMA fights. They have a huge MMA record. You know, they didn't say that when Jake has 10 boxing matches and I have 2. That was my second. And, you know, it's unfair. It sucks to say, but it's unfair that it wasn't as similar as you would expect it to be in a fight. And bare knuckle, you know, that's the thing. It's like Jake Paul, fight me bare knuckle now.
Yeah,
I fought
exactly.
you in your rules. Give me a chance to make it up in my rules. And a lot of people think, damn, that wouldn't be good for Mike. Jake would, if Jake can beat him with gloves on, he'd probably just do the same thing with no gloves. The pain tolerance is different. There's a whole different thing that I would strive in bare knuckle.
Yeah, he should do a bare knuckle, but I'm sure he won't. I don't see him doing that. So cool, man. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Give a real shout out to you. What was the name of your podcast again?
Overdogs Podcast.
Overdogs, your fight promotion. Anything else you want to plug real quick to wrap up?
Yeah, man. Dirty Boxing, Platinum Tequila's coming soon. A couple months we'll hit the shelves, and
Platinum Tequila.
probably in all the states. So thanks.
I want to get a bottle of that when you get that. I'll get a bottle of that and I'll put that down, get in some trouble.
Hey, make sure when y'all get a bottle of the Platinum Tequila, just tag me in a video or a story or something. Man, I'd love to see them all. I'll share them all.
If I get arrested, I'm blaming you. That Platinum Tequila. Hey, thanks for coming on, Brad. We'll talk again sometime in the future. So have a good one.